Welcome to Wealth, Words, and Wisdom, where real-life conversations lead to financial clarity. I'm Ashley Carter, alongside my co-host, Carrie Boatner. In this conversation-driven podcast, we talk about real-life topics like parenting, marriage, business, faith, and leadership, all things that naturally lead into deeper discussions about financial understanding, long-term planning, and wise stewardship. Get ready for some honest discussions about money, responsibility, and the choices that shape our future. Let's get into today's conversation. This episode is going to be a little different today. We are going to be talking about the real life challenges that we are navigating as moms this year. Carrie, we're in different seasons. We have different family structures, but we really have the same heart for our families and also for other people. So I would love for you to really get us started and share about where you are in this season of motherhood.
How long do we have on this podcast today, Ashley? I'm just kidding. Well, first of all, hi, Ashley. I'm so glad we're doing this again today. And I do think it's important that we use the life that we're going through and the experiences that we're having to help other people, just in knowing, number one, they're not alone, and helping them just see how other people navigate things. So I am a single mom. I live in Georgia. My boys and I, Major and Thor, they are twin 16-year-old men, which is really hard for me to actually say. When just yesterday I was looking at a video of them when they were just 3 years old. But these young men, they both actually are working right now. They both have jobs, and they're working at Topgolf, which they love. And that's brought a whole new dynamic to what it's like to shuttle them around, because right now, although they're 16, they don't have cars yet. They're working and saving. So I'm pretty excited about that, that they're learning that fiscal responsibility. And I do, besides being a licensed financial professional, I have owned my own business, a traditional business, for the last 35 years of my life. I'm a paramedical tattooist, and that involves, doing 3D nipple tattooing, 3D belly button, scar camouflage, stretch mark procedures, and then also permanent cosmetics. So I've been doing that for over 30 years, and that's been a very, very rewarding career. But all of those things, the businesses plus being a single mom, my goodness, it keeps me incredibly busy, but I do feel very, very blessed and fortunate. Right now with the boys, it's a different season for sure. I'm teaching them, how to be independent, but I'm still protecting them. There's different ways that I can protect them now than I could before. Before I kept them from putting their hand on a hot stove. And now I'm really covering them in prayer and teaching a lot. I'm, balancing being a provider in the home and needing to be in control of a lot of things, and also, being a nurturer with them. Ashley and I always say, that we're not just raising boys, we are raising young men, and I'm raising them intentionally by teaching them things that I would want a husband to do, opening up my car door, making sure they stand up when I approach the table and they stand up when I get up from the table. So things like that, I'm teaching them also what it would be like to run a home. They do their own laundry. They both know how to cook. They know how to clean. They also know how to do things outside, using the weed eater, mowing the lawn, doing gardening and planting and cutting down tree branches and burning wood, things like that. Also financial lessons. Right now they're earning money. So we've talked about in a previous episode what that looks like, them putting money aside, saving for a car, also getting ready to establish their own credit. And then ultimately we're going to be opening up their own bank here. So I'm just doing everything I can to get them ready for adulthood. Honestly, I want them to be great husbands, and I want them to just be prepared for the world. So I know that's a very different place from where you are, Ashley, but I like what you said in the beginning, that we are in different stages, but we do have the same heart. And that's one of the things that attracted me to you. I know that you have a great love for your husband and your children, but you also love the Lord. And that's one of the things that I see just, resonating out of you, and everything you do is just a great love for Jesus. So anyway, why don't you go ahead and share with us everything that's going on in your life? Because because you have a lot going on too.
I sure do, Carrie. And thank you so much for all of that. And as I always say, I do believe that you are such an incredible mother. I'm so grateful that we're on this path together and that we get to share so many incredible stories with other people. And I know it's probably going to sound like that we're talking directly to moms today because we're both moms, but so many of these things can also apply to dads. And I know there's a lot of single dads out there who maybe can learn from things that we're doing and how we're raising our children. So, dads, we're talking to you too. So, for me, Carrie, this season of motherhood, it is so fulfilling. And I had planned on being a doctor. I joke with Sam all the time and I say, yeah, you just married me because you thought I was going to be a doctor and you thought you were going to have it on easy street. But then after we got married, I'm like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And so, of course, that's something we decided together. And I truly feel like that I'm fulfilling what God made me to be. And it's such a widespread, I feel like, of where I am in motherhood right now, as far as having a baby, but also having a preteen. And let me tell you, raising a baby while having two older kids has been incredible and such a totally different experience than having two little toddlers or having one toddler with a new baby. And this has just been such a fun season for us right now. So Rhea was born in August. And so my baby is going to be 1 this year. Remy, my middle child, is going to be 10. And then Reese is going to be turning 13. I joked with my sister a few weeks ago about how this is such an emotionally hard year for me with these 3 big ages coming for all of my kids. 13 is such a big time for kids. And kids are always like, oh, I can't wait to get older. And I tell mine all the time, I'm like, just slow down. You need to enjoy your childhood and don't rush all of these responsibilities that are coming. But Reese turning 13, that's such a big thing for him. And then Remy turning 2 digits. Like that is so big. And then, of course, when babies turn 1, it's such a big deal. So I feel like that this is probably going to be an emotional year for me. And it starts in April. So keep me in your prayers. But it's definitely a fun time. And it's fun to be able to see the 2 older kids, how they interact with the baby and all the things they're learning. And you talk about trying to raise your sons to be good men, but also good husbands, and being able to teach my children how to take care of the baby. And I think about my older sister and I are 10 and 12 years older than my younger sister. And it's kind of almost the exact ages of how much older my kids are than my baby. And my older sister and I learned so much about how to care for a baby and take care of her as we were growing up. And I think it's such a special experience for my kids to get to go through too. So on top of having the 3 kids, we've talked about before how I'm a homeschooling mom, and that is a lot of responsibility. But it's something I don't take lightly, but it's something that I really do enjoy, getting to be home with my kids and watch them learn and grow every single day. It's something that I try not to ever take for granted. So on top of that, I'm also helping my husband grow his business. He's an entrepreneur. He is a farrier. He works with horses. He tries to do videos and I help edit his videos for him. And then also I help people in their health and wellness. And that's a space that I've been in for over a decade. And it's something that is really fulfilling for me because it's something I'm truly passionate about. So I have a lot of things going on in my life, and I'm having to manage 3 very different developmental stages with my kids, this homeschool responsibility, and then supporting my husband and prioritizing my own health as well as helping other people on top of this financial services business, which I love so much.
I don't know about you, Ashley, but one of the challenges that I have, quite sincerely, is time management. I have to be honest. My man, Paul, tells me all the time that I am overextending myself because so many things come up and I go, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, like this podcast. So having the different businesses and then also being the single mom and doing this podcast. But I'm also, two different classes right now that I'm taking, and there's homework every single night. I suffer from mom guilt. I don't know about you or any of our listeners, but even though my young men are 16, feel like I need to constantly be concerned about, did you eat anything? What are you hungry? Can I get you something to drink? And they're completely capable of doing all those things. But I think I was just telling you the other day, Ashley, how when they're both at work, I feel so free that I don't have to worry about them. But when they're here in the house, it's like I'm constantly on alert, that I need to be doing something for them. And then, add on top of it, the financial responsibility that comes with being a single mom and everything involved in the entire home and the yard and feeding them and clothing them and things like that. And I just want to get it right. And I feel very blessed and fortunate. I had an amazing mother. And it's funny talking to her now. She doesn't think she did everything right. And she felt like she messed up. And I feel that same way too, that like my son was just telling me last night, like he bought a pair of used Yeezy slides from a friend. Now, I don't know a whole lot about those things, but I know they're like at least $100 for these shoes. And my son paid $40 for these shoes. And when I found out that he had bought this kid's very gently used Yeezy slides, I felt so bad. Like I thought, gosh, I wish I could do more. Wish I could provide everything. But the truth of the matter is, and I may share this later, but I'm okay with the fact that I didn't buy him brand new shoes. At the end of the day, I'm actually thankful that I have a son who sees that there's value in not spending money ridiculously. The shoes aren't damaged, they look almost brand new. And I'm thankful that he's like that. And so I'm trying to balance that I'm ambitious, that I want to do more. Like I mentioned before, I am 60 years young. And I feel like I don't know how much time I have, but I know that the time I do have, I need to make the most of it. I need them to learn from the things I say, but I really, more importantly, need them to learn from the things that I do. And so I'm balancing being ambitious and growing a financial future so that when I'm gone, they have some security and stability, but also making sure that I'm present for them. And so there's a lot. No matter the structure that you have of your home, the emotional weight that we carry as mothers is a very real thing. And like Ashley mentioned, sure, there are some single male listeners out there too. It's a lot. It's really a lot because we just want to do our best. And even sometimes when we do our best, the fear is that our best isn't good enough. But anyway, we pray through it. And I'm so thankful I have you, Ashley, because you help to encourage me to keep going.
I love you, Carrie.
You too.
I'm so glad that we're friends. I'm so glad God connected us and you are a good mother. But that pressure is real because I feel like that we see so much perfection online and we feel like we're falling behind. But Carrie, nobody's life is perfect. And the most important thing, and this is something I know that you're doing for your children, the most important thing we could ever do for them is not something we could buy them. It has nothing to do with finances, nothing to do with money. It's about leading them to Jesus. And you live your life every day as an example of that. You are an incredible mother. And I hope that if there's anybody out there listening that feels inadequate or feels like that they're not doing enough for their kids because they can't buy them the latest thing or the most expensive thing, like that's not what matters. I know, Carrie, that you're leading your children to the Lord, and that is something that nobody can ever take away from them. And that has eternal value. And just because you're not able to buy him brand new slides, guess what? You taught him the value of knowing that buying something used is good enough. And like you said, don't spend money frivolously. Don't waste money. Like, guess what? If he would have bought a $100 pair of new slides, the day that he brought them home and put them on his feet, they were used. So if he's able to get them for less than half price and they still look just as good, then who's the actual winner? Who's actually coming out on top, right?
Right. Thank you for those words, Ashley. I got a little emotional there because it really is real. Wanting to leave a legacy for your children in every area. Honestly, and you're right, like, leaving a legacy financially for our children really is the very least of all the things, even though we're in the financial realm, right? And we wanna leave them something because we know that financial freedom is a very important freedom for people to have because it gives them choices, but leading them to the throne of God is really the deepest desire of my heart. Going back to, our brand and, what we do and why we even started this podcast, not why we started it, but one of the reasons why we started it, was to help people learn some fiscal principles, to be more wise with their money, to capitalize on the time that they're spending to earn that money, to leverage it. And, right now I'm teaching these boys how to work and how to save and modeling some different financial behaviors for them, showing them about paying off debt. The Bible says that we are to owe no man anything but to love them. And we talk about money. Thor was going to go to the mall a few weeks back, and this was after he got his first paycheck. And I had said to him, listen, let's talk about this before you walk into that mall. What is one thing that you actually really have wanted before you walk in the mall? Because there are going to be triggers everywhere of things that are designed to cause you to spend your money. So let's talk about what those things are before you go in there. And then you need to discipline yourself. And I mentioned in a previous podcast that one of the greatest lessons I have ever taught my boys was delayed gratification and being able to walk away from something that you don't, maybe you want it, because most things are want items, not necessarily needs. All of their needs are met, but they have want items. So anyway, he did go into the mall that night. When I picked him up, I asked him, I said, how did it go? What did you buy? He only bought the one thing that he said he was going to buy. He went to the movies with his friends, said, did you buy popcorn or what'd you do? He goes, no, Mom, it was so expensive. I would have had to have worked 2.5 hours at my job just to pay for that. And he said, so
Wow.
I didn't do that. Yeah. So I'm glad they're learning that, because even when they do live a life of abundance, people are wealthy not because they spend their money. People are wealthy because they are wise with their money. So I'm really doing all of the things that I can do to prepare them for real life and, teaching them to have systems in place. Even when it comes to simple things like cleaning the bathroom, there's a particular order that you need to clean the bathroom in that makes the most sense. There's a particular order, and I know I might catch some flack for this, but loading the dishwasher. There is an efficient way of loading the dishwasher, and there's also a very efficient way of unloading the dishwasher. And so trying to teach them all the skills so that they are very dependent adults. And one of the things I told the boys, I want to teach them the things that, and I believe I said this in a previous podcast, but they're never going to get in trouble from a spouse for having good hygiene. They're never going to get in trouble by being organized and clean and tidy and a great contributor to the home. So all of those things, and then also creating some financial literacy, because we know that people in relationships argue about money more than they argue about anything else. What are some of the things that you're focused on with your kids, Ashley, at their ages? What kind of skills are seeming to be important at their stages?
So I love that you touched on the delayed gratification, and it came to my mind how my kids always have an Amazon list going. And it's funny to me that they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, Mom, I got something I want to add to my list. And they've always got a birthday coming up or Christmas coming or something. So they have this running list all the time. But it's funny to me that lots of times they'll come back and they'll say, well, I don't even want that anymore. So it's like, think if you would have ran and spent your money on that, but then a week later, you don't even want it anymore. So I love that kind of delayed way of thinking, because it's like you don't always need what you think that you need, and you don't always need what you want. And so I love being able to see them kind of experience that, and I think that that is going to be something that's going to help them later on in life too. And I'm sitting here laughing when you're talking about the efficient way to do things. My kids, Reese and Remy, the oldest ones, the 9 and 12-year-old now, they have to put up the dishwasher. That is their chore. And they'll ask me, they'll say, Mama, why do we have to do the dishes? And I say, because that's my least favorite chore. And you get to live here for free, so you get to do it. But really, it's teaching them how to take care of a home. They have to clean their bathroom. They have to do their laundry. They're responsible for folding their laundry and putting their own laundry away. And sometimes I let them start it too, but to be honest, the detergent is in the top cabinet and I want it there and I don't want to put it in the lower cabinet where they can reach it. So I just do it myself. But
Yeah.
they do their laundry, and Reese goes and works with Sam a lot, my husband, and he helps him with the horses, and love that he is learning from my husband how to provide for a family. And we're able to teach him about finances through his work as he's earning money. He's recently started working for my parents. They have a business in town and he is able to work for them and earn money. And he's learning how hard it is to let go of your money after you've made it. So like you're talking about your son putting a value on his time, right? And I do that personally. When I think about something I want to buy, I think, okay, if I buy this, how many horses is Sam going to have to trim for me to buy this? And when I started doing that, Carrie, I stopped spending so much money because it really changes your thinking when you think, how hard am I going to have to work for this? How much time am I going to have to put in to pay for this item? And is it really worth it? Remy's able to learn how to take care of a family inside the home as she's with me here more. As Reese goes with Sam working, Remy's here with me and she's learning about how to care for a home, how to care for a baby. And it's just,
She's quite a good baker too.
she is. She loves cooking. And it's just really fun to get to see them change and grow and become the people that God is calling them to be.
Yeah. You know what, too? I was thinking, as you were talking about your kids doing their laundry, I just want to encourage there's some younger moms or even grandparents out there listening and they have little grandbabies or whatever. I don't know about you, Ashley, but I remember when the boys were like 4 and 5 years old and they were learning colors and stuff. I mean, I had them in the laundry room sorting the clothes by color. It can be something that simple, something as simple as they could throw the clothes in the washing machine. We had a front loader at the time. And so they could just throw the clothes in there and it builds a lot of confidence in themselves. I remember even just when the boys were little, tiny, when I had to work with them when their schedule, because breastfeeding twins was quite a chore. And so I did put them on a schedule. I think they were like 8 weeks old and I had them on a schedule of when they would eat. And I read a book and it was talking about teaching your children how to self-soothe even. And it took a few nights, but they learn so quickly. Even as little tiny infants, they learn to self-soothe and it gives them confidence. It's one of the things the book said. It gave them confidence to know that they could be alone and that they could do something. It's hard because we're teaching them to be alone. And at the same time, I want to hold on to them. I want to hold on to when they were little babies, and I saw this reel last night and no joke. I am an emotional person, but I saw a reel last night and I've seen it quite a few times, but this one really made me cry. And it's this last time video where the mom stands and she's looking at her son that's like 7 inches taller and she's got the phone set up and she says, I just don't remember the last time. And, they record, the mom holding the son that's so big. I want to do that with my kids, but I don't know if they'll let me, but they probably will if I don't record it, but maybe I could secretly record it somehow. But anyway, it's a lot. We're trying to teach them the independence, but still hold on to them at the same times, while they're growing. I don't know about you, Ashley, but I am being stretched in ways I never thought possible. Loving them is the most beautiful, most painful thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Carrie. And I have learned so much about myself through being a mom. And I feel like the biggest thing that I've learned is my failures, where I am weak or where I'm challenged, I guess. And I try to always share with my kids what my struggles are and maybe what upsets me the most. And I try to talk to them when I mess up and I explain to them that I'm not perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't need Jesus. And I've never claimed to want to be perfect. I do tell my kids that I want to do better when I mess up, but I go to them and I talk to them, and I want them to learn that communication is key in any relationship. And I know I've mentioned before about kind of the theme of our homeschool is teaching our kids to live life well. And that includes teaching them about housework and how to communicate with one another and how to relate to other people and how to take care of their health and all the things that we deal with as adults. We're trying to teach our kids. And it was sweet. Reese actually went to work with Sam a few days ago, and he came home and he was actually wanting a sweet treat. And we really limit sugar around here. But he was like, Mama, I was really respectful today. I said, yes, ma'am. And I talked to Daddy's client. So maybe you could reward me. Let me have this sweet treat.
I love him.
And I thought, well, I mean, at least he sees the value of being respectful to other people.
Ashley, I love that you shared that you allow your children to know when you have missed the mark, when maybe you've made a mistake or maybe your judgment was off, or even when we get frustrated because we are only human. And there have been times when I've had to say to the boys, listen, you know what? This is my first time living too. Or, you know what? This is my first time being a mom of 16-year-old young men. I'm just doing my best. And, I think that being able to be humble is a really great quality for everyone to know, in any relationship, whether it's work or, family, friends. We have to always be able to admit that we were wrong and do whatever we can to be able to make amends to those people when we have messed up. And there's no better place to model that stuff than to model it at home by example, because they're going to do what we do, not what we say.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And that's something that I try to teach my kids when it comes to them interacting with each other. I'm not going to force them to go apologize. Like that needs to come from their heart. And like if I just say, go apologize to your sister, well, what's that teaching to anybody? So I try to teach them, like, how do you think that makes her feel? How do you think he's feeling right now? If you were in their shoes, what would you be feeling? And what do you think you should do to go fix this?
I love that, Ashley, because asking them to figure it out for themselves is a part of letting go too, isn't it? Because we want to just say, go do this, go do that. I struggle with that. I really do. Had a military father, and there's a lot of direction given. My boys, when they were little, we have a rock that's shaped like a heart. And they learned this in their little nursery school. And if there was ever any strife or any type of conflict, you would go to the rock wall, and whoever's holding the rock, which is shaped like a heart, who's ever holding the heart, has to say, what you just did really hurt my feelings, and this is how it made me feel. And then they would hand the heart-shaped rock to the other one. And then the other one would get a chance to share what was on their heart. It was a beautiful thing. They kind of outgrew that, but now I just share with them, listen, you guys are going to have to talk nicer to each other, because in the end, you guys are really all you have. Once I'm gone, you guys are going to need each other. And so trying to help them navigate their friendship along with, they're the same age, right? They very different humans, but very alike as well. But at any rate, helping them navigate their own life and make sure they maintain their own friendship inside the home is super important.
Yeah, I love that so much.
I can tell you this, Ashley, I am so far from having it all figured out. I'm so thankful to God that my brothers all married the most amazing women, and that my nieces and nephews are older than my kids. And so I can learn from those amazing women. But regardless of what season you're in life, we need prayer. And we need the Lord to help us be moms, but also be women who are striving to become better just on our own, because there's going to come a day when those kids leave the house and I go with them to college. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I'm not kidding. I tell Sam, hey, you can stay here in this house if you want, but when the kids are gone, if they move off, I'm going with them.
That's right. I'm telling you, I totally believe in a family compound, but being consistent with your word, I think, is the thing that matters the most, consistent with your actions, and making sure that the priorities that we have in life as parents are the same things that we teach our children. If it's important to us, it's going to be important to them. Like, it's important for me to be in church on Sundays. If I don't make it valuable, they're not going to think it's valuable. And like we've said before, We are to train up our children in the ways that they should go. And when they are older, they will not depart from it. And that is a promise from our Creator. So I know for me, I'm seeing the work show up in my children's lives. And I believe I have to have faith that everything that I pour into them, that it is going to take root inside their heart, and that when they are older, it will produce a harvest in the relationships that they have and the lives that they get to live.
And isn't it sad how quickly your boys are becoming men, Carrie?
Stop
Like,
it.
time flies so fast. That's why I'm talking about, I feel like this is going to be such an emotional year for me. I'm sure I'm going to call you crying when Remy turns 10, and then when Reese turns 13, and then when Rhea turns 1, because it hurts my mama heart, and it's so bittersweet because it's like we've talked about, it's so fun to get to see them learn and grow and do all these things. But yet sometimes I'll sit down and make the bad choice of going through old baby pictures of my kids, and I'll just start crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want you to be little again. It's so hard knowing that you're trying to prepare them for adulthood, but you don't want them to grow up.
No, we don't. No. It is definitely a struggle for sure. I'm very thankful that I get to go through this life with you, Ashley, and learn to grow and have a support system with you. And as much as we talk about finances on this podcast, at the end of the day, everything that we build financially and everything that we build with character building with our children, building integrity with them, everything that we do is for the betterment of our family. And that is where the true legacy lives, is with our children. We thank you so much for listening to our podcast today. Hopefully you've learned a little bit more about who Ashley and I are and some of the things that we're doing in our parenting and what's in our heart. And if you have some great parenting tips for us on how we are to navigate these children and these lives, these humans we're helping to grow up to be amazing contributors to our society, please drop us a line at wealthwordsandwisdompodcast@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear those, and we will address those in future episodes. Until next Tuesday at 6 a.m., we appreciate you listening. Thank you for listening to Wealth, Words, and Wisdom. Our goal is simple. It's to help you approach your financial decisions with clarity, confidence, and with intention. Because we know that when wisdom leads the way, your money decisions will feel less overwhelming and they will be far more aligned with your real life. If something you heard today resonated with you and you'd like to explore your options, we offer complimentary strategy sessions. There's no pressure, there's no obligation, it's just education and clarity. You can reach out to us at wealthwordsandwisdompodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if this episode was helpful, share it with friends or family who you believe could benefit from this conversation. Until next time, remember, wealth grows where wisdom leads.